Welcome to Two Witness Teaching Program. Two Witness, a Bible teaching program to change and transform people. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Let's dive into it.
All right, we're going to be opening today with Judges, the book of Judges, as we continue along in our Old Testament survey. And a survey is just that. We won't be reading each word like we did in the New Testament survey, because we were able to go through that, but we're going to actually do a survey, which means we'll skip some of it, concentrate on other parts of it as we move along through the Old Testament. So open your Bibles to the book of Judges. And first of all, the title itself tells us that this is about ruling leaders. The judges were ruling leaders. They were not so much civil magistrates like we think of a judge today. They were more military leaders than anything. And they were distributed throughout Israel at various time periods as God raised them up. Some lasted in this leadership longer than others, and we'll see why God raised them up. But they were primarily to help Israel in her time of need, because through disobedience, the Israelites that had taken the promised land were now being oppressed by the peoples that lived there that had not been driven out as of yet. And so this is a time period of, your outline says about 400 years, somewhere between 300 and 400 years. According to Bible scholars, it depends on where you start dating the Exodus out of Egypt, the dates that you wind up with here. But it's a time period that covers from the death of Joshua to Samuel's ministry. And what we need to look at is the various judges who are named in here, the various ruling leaders, and look at what was happening at that time that they were ruling. We'll find that sometimes they overlapped each other because they were local rather than national. Israel at this time was more a confederation than anything else of the tribes. And so in various places the tribes had settled, remember, they'd each been given land. We read that in Joshua as they took the promised land. And so the judges were in localities, but not ruling nationally like that. However, the tabernacle was at Shiloh, the Ark of the Covenant. And the thing that we're going to read several places in Judges is that every man did that which was right in his own eyes. That's because there was no central government, there was no king over Israel, and so we'll see that every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And it turns out that many times that didn't go over so well, because what was right in his own eyes was not necessarily what the Lord wanted. So Bob's going to take chapter 1.
Okay. In chapter 1, through the whole chapter, verse 36, we see the political condition of the land as they're in it, and we'll read it, not all of it, but enough to get a good grip on what's happening here. Chapter 1, verse 1, Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, Who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first to fight against them? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. 3, Judah said unto Simeon, his brother, Come up with me, the two of us, unto my lot, that we may fight against the Canaanites. And I likewise then will go with you into your lot, your assignment, your territory, and I'll help fight with you. So Simeon went with him. And Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites unto their hand, and they slew of them in Bezek 10,000 men. And they found Adoni-Bezek in Bezek, and they fought against him. He was the king. And they slew the Canaanites and the Perizzites. All right. But Adoni-Bezek fled. They pursued after him and caught him, and they cut off his thumb and his great toes. And Adonibezek said, 70 kings have their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathering their meat under my table. That's what I did to 70 others. As I have done, so God has requited or visited the same thing upon me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. Now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem and had taken it, smitten it with the edge of the sword, and set the city on fire. This ultimately would become the city of peace for God, where his temple would go, and here they possessed it. Verse 9, afterwards the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites that dwell in the mountain and in the south and in the valley. And Judah went against the Canaanites that dwell in Hebron. Verse 11 says, and from thence he went against the inhabitants of Debir. Probably verse 13, when Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, he gave him Achsah, his daughter, to wife. And it came to pass, when she came to him, that she moved him to ask of her father for a field. And he lighted from off her ass, and Caleb said unto her, what wilt thou? What do you want? And she said, give me a blessing, for thou hast given me the south land. Give me also springs of water. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and nether springs. So it goes on to say, verse 17, Judah went with Simeon his brother, and they slew the Canaanites that inhabited Zephath, utterly destroyed it, and the name of the city was called Hormah. Verse 18, also Judah took Gaza with the coast thereof, and Askelon with the coast thereof, and Ekron with the coast thereof. And the Lord was with Judah. Very important point to note, he was obeying and moving along. And he drove out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. They had a defensive weapon that they could not overcome. Well, verse 21, we move on next from Judah and Simeon to Benjamin. The children of Benjamin did not drive out Jebusites that inhabit Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwelt with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. Then also 22 talks about the house of Joseph. They also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. Verse 27, another member of the tribe, neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Bethshan, or Bashan, and her towns. So they didn't complete their work. Compromise again. It said in the last verse, in verse 27, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. They didn't do their job. Well, verse 29, how about Ephraim? Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelt in Gezer among them. Verse 30, neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, but they dwelt among them and became tributaries. Verse 31, neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko. 33, neither did Nephi drive out the inhabitants of Bethshemesh. 34, the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer or allow them to come down to the valley.
All right, chapter 2. And an angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim, and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. And you shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. You shall throw down their altars. But you have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? So wherefore, or because of this, I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the people of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept, because they realized now why this was happening. And they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there unto the Lord. And that word means, just a second if I can read it, weepers.
Weepers.
They were the weepers there. And verse 6, and when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. So he's bringing this history now with him of how it happened that they got there. And verse 7, the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And that's what we read at the end of the book of Joshua, didn't we? And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died being 110 years old, and they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres in the mount of Ephraim on the north side of the hill Gash. And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers. Now, underline this because this is sort of like Joseph and Pharaoh. There arose another generation after them which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. This generation raises up, and in verse 11, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served Balaam. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the gods of the people that were round about them. And they bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger. And they forsook the Lord, and served Baal and Ashtaroth. Well, we all know what happens next, don't we? It's a pattern. It keeps happening. The anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. You want to serve other gods? You want to go after something that isn't of the Lord? He'll let you, won't he? But also his anger is kindled against those that do it. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, or these rulers, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a-whoring after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in. Notice that? Their fathers walked in the way. They turned quickly away from it. That's how fast it can go. From my generation to the generation after me, quickly. And they turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord. But they did not so. And when the Lord raised them up judges, then the Lord was with the judge and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented the Lord because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. In verse 19, and it came to pass when the judge was dead that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers in following other gods to serve them and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way. Wow, what an indictment. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, again, and he said, because, now this is moral government, plain and simple. You obey, you get the blessings. You disobey, you get what? The curses. So he says, because this people has transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and they have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them, of the nations which Joshua left when he died, that through them, through these nations being there, I may prove Israel. Circle the word prove. I'm going to prove Israel, whether they will keep the way of the Lord to walk therein as their fathers did keep it, or not. Therefore, the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua.
Chapter 3. Now he moves on and says, now these are the nations which the Lord left. Put the word why right there. Why did he leave these? Why did God leave these? We know, see, but you want to put why. To prove Israel by them. See, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan. Had not known is, as Karen explained earlier, they hadn't experienced all the earlier battles of the previous generation. So he was testing these people that had not been into that kind of conflict. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war at the least, such as before they knew nothing thereof. They had no previous knowledge of that. Now, Here's some enemies that are going to prove them. In verse 3, 5 lords of the Philistines, and he names them. Verse 4 says, and they would approve Israel by them to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses, which you read back in Deuteronomy when they come out of the land. So here it is again, to prove, to test. God's word is absolutely sure. It will never fail. He makes all kinds of covenants with them. But the covenants are all conditional covenants, aren't they? And so he's going to prove them. All right. So it tells in verse 5, the children of Israel continued to dwell among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Not only that, but verse 6 says they took their daughters to be their wives and gave their daughters to their sons and served other gods. And here they go. Intermingling, compromise. Now, verse 7 kind of sums it up. The children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and forgot the Lord their God and served Baalim and the groves. The next thing you know, they're all going down the tubes. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them unto the hand of the king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served that king 8 years. And then the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. They're crying now, they're suffering, they're all kinds of problems. Now they're going to cry out to God. The Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Now the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel, and he went out to war. And he fought against the king here of Mesopotamia. And then verse 11, the sum of it is, the land had rest 40 years, or 1 generation, and then Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. Now another one comes up, another judge. And the children of Israel did evil again. After 40 years, the next generation is doing evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, the evil king of Moab, against Israel. Why did he strengthen them? Because Israel had done evil in the sight of the Lord. So they were doing evil. Verse 15, but when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up and delivered Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite. And he sent him a present to the king of Eglon, the king of Moab. But here's what Ehud did, and I'll just tell you the story. He made a dagger with 2 edges. He goes and visits the king, and while he's in with the king, he says, I have a secret thing to tell you. And the king got rid of everybody out of the chamber, and he took the knife and ran it into his stomach. But this king, Eglon, was very, very fat. As we're going to see, most of his people were fat. And so he moves out, he locks the doors, the king's laying there on the floor, he locks the doors to his chamber and left, and pretty soon other servants came and found the door locked and said, well, he must be outside of his clothes. This was kind of a sun place, a room to relax. So they left him alone for a long time before they finally went and got a key and opened the door and found him dead. Meanwhile, Ehud had escaped and gotten out of there, but he'd gone in and killed this king directly. So then, verse 29 tells you when he leads the children of Israel in there, they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty. Here's your Hebrew word fat. They were all overweight. And all the men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. So 80 years now, 2 generations it has rest. But after him was Shamgar. He slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. Chapter 4 deals with Deborah, the woman judge, the only woman that became a judge. But we're going to find out something about her that will be very interesting. Well, the children of Israel in 4:1 once again, did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them, gave them over to the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan. Verse 3, the children of Israel, once more, who would know, who could guess, they cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron in 20 years. He mightily oppressed the children of Israel. So now we have Deborah, Notice, before she becomes a judge, she's a prophetess of God, ordained, anointed, whatever, by God for revelation to the children of Israel. Notice she's a wife, so she's a married woman who has a husband, still a prophetess, operating under God, but still married and serving her husband that way. And she judged Israel at that time. And verse 6, she sent and called Barak, and she brings him in, makes him general of the armies. And Barak, of course, God has already told him what's going to happen, and she's telling Barak in verse 7, God says, I'm going to draw thee to the river Kishon Sisera, and the captain of Jabin's army, and with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thy hand. And Barak said to her, okay, fine, but if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, then I will not go. Here's the general of the army. God has already given approval to the victory, but he recognizes that God has set up a woman judge, which would be very rare, the only one that we know of. A woman judge to judge this territory. God has given her power, and he wants her to go because he feels that if she goes, this is part of the arrangement that surely will come to pass. Yes, I trust God, but I want Deborah to go with me. She says in verse 9, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for your honor, for the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman, me, see. Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And so here's the whole story here. 14, Deborah says unto Barak, up, for this is the day in which the Lord has delivered Sisera unto thy hand. Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from the Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men followed him. Now, here's some providential government. God is doing something here unusual, but he's given the revelation to Deborah. Barak has agreed with her. Here it is, verse 15. The Lord discomfited Sisera and all his chariots, all of his host, with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off of his chariot, and he fled away on his feet. 16, Barak pursues after the chariots and after the host. 17 says Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, and has a whole contest here wanting somebody to cover. He says in 19, she hid him in the tent in the verse 18, covered him with a mantle, or a rug or a blanket, it's in the Hebrew. 19, he said unto her while he was there, he said, give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I'm thirsty. She opened a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered him. He said unto her, now go out and stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee, and say, is there any man here, that thou shalt say, no. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, took a hammer in her hand, and she went softly unto him. Remember, he's under a blanket. She smote the nail into his temple of his head, fastened it unto the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. And then she goes and meets Barak, brings him in, shows that he's dead. Verse 23, so God subdued on that day Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered, and it prevailed against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan.
Keep going.
Chapter 5 is mine, I guess. I'm sorry for that. She's getting paid by the chapter, and I just took a chapter away from her. All right, chapter 5. Then the song of Deborah. It's basically the whole thing right through verse 31, although 31 is kind of a summary statement. Verse 1 of chapter 5, then sang Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, on that day, saying, and here's the song, praise ye the Lord for the avenging of Israel. When did he do it? When? Underline that word when. When the people willingly offered themselves.
Yes.
Conditional. Hear ye, O kings, give ear, O ye princes, even I will sing unto the Lord, I will sing praise unto the Lord God of Israel. And then she begins to sing a very beautiful song here about this. Verse 8, talking about the Israelites, they chose new gods. Then was war in the gates. Was there a shield or spear even among the 40,000 in Israel? My heart is towards the governors of Israel that offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless ye the Lord. Verse 12, awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake, utter a song, arise, Barak, and lead thy captivity captive, thou son of Abinoam.
Verse 24.
24, blessed above women shall Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, be. Blessed shall be above all the women in the tent. He asked for water, she gave him milk, she brought forth butter in a lordly dish, she put her hand in the nail, the right hand of the workman's hammer, and with a hammer she smote Sisera. She smote his head, and when she had pierced and stricken through his temples, goes on then to sum it up. Verse 31, so let all thine enemies perish, O Lord. Let the enemies perish, but let them that love him, conditional, be as the sun when he goeth forth in his might. And the land had rest under Deborah and Barak for one more generation, 40 years.
And then chapter 6, following right along. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord now, and the children delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian, now here's another group that's a Gentile group, the Midianites. The hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. And because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. They even fled from them, see? And so it was, look at what the Midianites did. When Israel had sown, they went out and worked the fields. Then the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites and the children of the east. They came up against them and encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep nor ox nor ass. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came up as grasshoppers, like a multitude of grasshoppers, just destroying the land before them. For both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. Verse 7, and it came to pass, when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said to them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drove them out from before you, and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God, fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But you have not obeyed my voice. So we have the whole story over again. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash, and his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. So Gideon is out working with the winepress, trying to remain unnoticed so that he can harvest something. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said to him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles, which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us, and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. Well, he's asking good questions. And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? This is a surprise to Gideon. And he said unto him, O my Lord, wherewith or how shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. Verse 16, the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. And he said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that thou talkest with me. Depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come to thee, and bring forth my present, and set it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid and unleavened cakes of an ephah of flour. The flesh he put in a basket. He put the broth in a pot and brought it out unto him under the oak and presented it. And the angel of God said to him, Take the flesh and the unleavened cakes and lay them upon this rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. Then the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and there rose up fire out of the rock and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. And when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord, Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for because I've seen an angel of the Lord face to face. And the Lord said to him, Peace be unto thee, fear not, thou shalt not die. He thought because he had seen this, he would die. No man seeing the presence of God. Well, then Gideon built an altar there unto the Lord and called it Jehovah Shalom, one of the names of God. And unto this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And Jehovah Shalom means the Lord send peace, or the Lord our peace. Verse 25, And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said to him, Take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father hath, and cut down the grove that is by it. Notice it is Gideon's father that has made an altar and a grove unto the god Baal, the heathen gods. And he says, in exchange for this, build an altar unto the Lord thy God upon the top of this rock, in the ordered place, and take the second bullock and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove which thou shalt cut down. Well, then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had said unto him, and so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he did not do it by day, that he did it at night. And when the men of the city rose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down, and the grove was cut down that was by it. And the second bullock was offered upon the altar that was built. And they said one to another, Who hath done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, hath done this thing. Then the men of the city said unto Joash, Bring out thy son, that he may die, because he hath cast down the altar of Baal, and because he hath cut down the grove that was by it. And Joash said unto all that stood against him, Will you plead for Baal? Will you save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death while it is yet morning. If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his altar. See, if he's really a god, he can do his own work. Therefore on that day he called him Jerubbaal, saying, Let Baal plead against him, because he has thrown down his altar. And so this is another name now that was given to Gideon, Jerubbaal, because he said, let Baal plead for himself. Verse 33, Then all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the children of the east were gathered together and went over and pitched in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezer was gathered after him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also was gathered after him. And he sent messengers unto Asher and Zebulun and Naphtali, and they came up to meet him. And Gideon said unto God, Notice all the ifs, If thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor. And if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside it, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said. And it was so, for he rose up early on the morrow and thrust the fleece together and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. And Gideon said unto God, Let not thy anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. He wants to do it one more time, but he wants to reverse it. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew. And God did so that night, for it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground.
Well, in chapter 7, we're going to find God doing some proving here, some testing with the people that need to go into battle. And this is kind of a test then for the people for the coming battle, a sorting out, we'd say. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all these people that were with him rose up early. They pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people that are with thee are too many. You need to underline that. God says, you got too many warriors here for me to give the Midianites into their hands, because Israel would vaunt themselves against me, saying, pounding their chest, our own hands have saved us. Boom, boom, boom. We just outnumbered them. No, there got to be a sorting. So here's the first sorting. Now therefore go and proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever, this is a great one to start with, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000. 22,000 left because they were fearful and afraid. Isn't that amazing? All right. So that remained 10,000. Then the Lord said unto Gideon, here's sorting number 2. The people are yet too many. Bring them down to the water, to the stream, and I will try them, or prove, or test them, see? I'll do that for you right there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And of whomsoever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. So here's the third one, and it's broken into 2 parts. So he brought down the people under the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, all right, every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue as a dog lappeth, him shall thou set by himself. That means they would just scoop down, bring up water, and drink it like this. They wouldn't be on their knees, they wouldn't be bending over, they would be bringing it up like this and lapping it like a dog. All right. Likewise, the second one, everyone that bows down on his knees to drink. So watch them and see which way they go, whether they're picking the water up like this and drinking it, or whether they're bowing down their head into the water to drink. The number of them that lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, were 300 men. They were drinking water, but able to watch at the same time. They brought the water up to them and lapped it out of their hand.
They were alert.
They were alert. But the rest of the people bowed upon their knees to drink the water, not obvious to anything around them. And the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you, and deliver the Midianites unto thy hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his own place. So the people took victuals in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of the Israel, every man to his tent, and he retained those 300 men, and the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. Came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto Gideon, arise, get thee down into the host. Now look at this. Same thing as he told the battle of Jericho, didn't he? I have, past tense, delivered it unto your hand. Here it is again. God calling the thing that is not as though it is. We go over to Mark, find the same thing, don't we? Chapter 11, verse 20 through 22. Learning to call the thing that's not as though it is into existence. The promise is already there. I have delivered it unto your hand. But if you fear to go down, go thou through Purah, thy servant, down to the host. Go with him. Thou shalt hear what they say, and afterwards shall thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then he went down with Purah his servant unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along the valley like grasshoppers for the multitude, and their camels were without number, like sand by the seaside for multitude. So the enemy has a tremendous amount of people. So when Gideon was come down, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came into a tent, and smote it, that it fell, and overturned it, that the tent lay along, or on the ground. And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save or except the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. For unto his hand hath, past tense, hasn't happened yet, but it's a past tense statement, he has already delivered God has delivered Midian and all the host. And it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and in the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped, returned unto the host of Israel, and said, Arise. Now notice he's saying the same thing that Joshua did about Jericho, isn't he? Arise, the Lord hath delivered into your hand the host of Midian. So he divided the 300 men into 3 companies. He put a trumpet in every man's hand with empty pitchers and lamps or torches inside of the pitchers, so that the lamps were hidden while they were lit. They wouldn't give any light this way. The light would only be if you looked down into it to see it. And so Gideon said unto them, Look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it shall be that, as I do, so shall you do. When I blow with the trumpet, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of the camp, totally surround them. This will absolutely confuse them. And say out loud, The sword of the Lord and Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came into the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, and as they but newly set the watch, they blew the trumpets, broke the pitchers right there, and then the torch was right there to give light. So instantly the sound comes surrounding this camp. They're up in the mountain, and also the light suddenly appeared 360 degrees. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets, brake the pitchers, held the lamps in their left hands and the trumpets in their right to blow withal. And they cried, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And they stood, every man in his place, around about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. The 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host. The host fled to Bethshita and Zerahrath, and to the border of Abel Meholah unto Tabbath. The men of Israel gathered themselves together out of Nephi and out of Asher and out of Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. And Gideon in verse 24 sends a messenger all through Ephraim, saying, Come down against the Midianites, overtake possession. And that was the end of the battle, a glorious victory, because God had trimmed them down to 300, and Gideon went.
And the 300 showed then the glory of the Lord.
Yes.
All right, chapter 8. And the men of Ephraim said unto him, now we're going to see the men of Ephraim 2 or 3 times in Judges. They keep quarreling, saying to whoever is the leader at the time, why didn't you get us in on the act, basically. The men of Ephraim said unto him, why hast thou served us thus, that thou called us not, when thou went to fight with the Midianites? And they did chide with him sharply. They started an argument. And he said unto them, what have I done now in comparison of you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God hath delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb, and Zeb, and what was I able to do in comparison to you? Then their anger was abated toward him when he had said that. And Gideon came to Jordan and passed over, he and the 300 men that were with him, faint, yet pursuing them. So they're still pursuing the part of the army that's fleeing now. And his men are faint, but they're faint from hunger. And he said to the men of Succoth, give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the people that follow me, for they be faint, and I'm pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. Well, the princes of Succoth basically blew him off. They said, are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thy hand, that we should give bread unto thy army? And Gideon said, well, when the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars. So it's sort of, if you're not for me, you're against me. And then he went up to the second place, to Penuel, and spake unto them likewise. And the men of Penuel answered him, as the men of Succoth had answered him. And he spake also to the men of Penuel, saying, when I come again in peace, I will break down this tower. Now Zebah and Zalmunna, those are the 2 kings of Midian, they were in Karkor, and their hosts were with them, about 15,000 men, all that were left of all the hosts of the children of the east. For there fell 120,000 men that drew the sword. 120,000 were killed, 15,000 left with the 2 kings, and they're fleeing. And Gideon went up by the way of them that dwelt in tents on the east, and smote the host, for the host was secure. And when Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued after them, and he took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and discomfited all the host. And Gideon, the son of Joash, returned from battle before the sun was up, and caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and inquired of him. And he described unto him the princes of Succoth, and the elders thereof, even 70 men. And he came unto the men of Succoth, and said, Behold, Zebah and Zalmunna, with whom you did upbraid me, saying, Are the hands of them now in thy hand, that we should give bread unto thy men that are weary? And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness, and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth, or he made them to know the punishment. And he beat down the tower of Penuel, and slew the men of the city. Then he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, these 2 kings, What manner of men were they whom you slew at Tabor? So there was this battle before that the Midianites had won. And they answered, they said, As thou art, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. And he said, They were my brethren, even the sons of my mother. So they were his birth brothers. As the Lord liveth, if you had saved them alive, I would not slay you. And he said unto Jether his firstborn, Up and slay them. But the youth drew not his sword, for he feared, because he was yet a youth, a young boy. Well, then these 2 kings said, Rise thou and fall upon us, for as the man is, so is his strength. And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalmunna, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, and you might want to underline this, Rule thou over us. Gideon has been the deliverer now. Not only have they seen the great defeat in battle, but now he's captured the kings and killed them. So the men of Israel want him to rule over them. Both thou and thy son and thy son's son also. So they want a monarchy here. For thou hast delivered us from the hand of Midian. Look what Gideon's answer was, verse 23. He said to them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. Was that a godly answer? Yes, definitely. And Gideon said unto them, I would desire a request of you, that you would give me every man the earrings of his prey. For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. And they answered, We will willingly give them. And they spread a garment, and did cast therein every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, beside ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and beside the chains that were about their camels' necks. All of this gold, what did he do with it? Gideon made an ephod. Well, now we know about the ephod that the high priest wears, the girdle that's part of the priestly garments. Remember when you studied the tabernacle and all the things that the priests wore? But this is a broader understanding of this word in the Hebrew. It means image. He made an image or an idol thereof and put it in his city, and some kind of an image in Ophrah, and all Israel went thither a-whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. Something that he thought to do kind of as a memorial for the defeat of the Midianites became another idol. Isn't that interesting? And it was a snare. Verse 28, Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so they lifted up their heads no more. And the country was in quietness 40 years, one generation, in the days of Gideon. And Jerubbaal, or Gideon, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. Can you imagine? He had 70 sons. And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son, number 71, whose name he called Abimelech. And Gideon, the son of Joash, died in a good old age and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash his father. Then verse 33, It came to pass as soon as Gideon was dead that the children of Israel turned again and went a-whoring after Baalim.
and made Baal-berith their god. The children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. And look at this, neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, or Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had shown unto Israel. So something is going to happen now in Gideon's own house after he has died. That will be a great tragedy.
Chapter 9, Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went into Shechem. Of course, this is Gideon, the son of Gideon. Went to Shechem and unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it be better for you, either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 80 persons, 80 of them, you want them to reign over you, or that just one would reign over you? Remember also that I am your bone and flesh. I'm your brother of you. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech. So here they are, they want to go after him. For they said, he is our brother. They gave him 80 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him. And he went into his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, these are all sons of Gideon, slew his brethren the sons of Jerubbaal, being 80 persons upon one stone. Notwithstanding yet, Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, which was Gideon, was left, for he had hid himself. So all the men of Shechem them gathered together at all in the house of Millo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. And when they told it to Jotham, this son escaped, he went and stood in the top of Mount Gerizim, lifted up his voice, and cried and said unto them, Hearken unto me, you men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. The trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. And they said unto the olive tree, Reign over us. But the olive tree said unto them, Should I leave my fatness, wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? This was Gideon, see. The tree said to the fig tree, Come, you reign over us. But the fig tree said unto them, Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said the trees unto the vine, Come thou and reign over us. And the vine said unto them, Should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Now look what happens. Then all the trees said unto the bramble, the thistle, Come thou, reign over us. And the bramble said unto the trees, If in truth you anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow, and if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. So here's this wicked Abimelech being the bramble. Now therefore, if you've done truly and sincerely, and that you've made Abimelech king, this is what he's preaching to them now. He's giving it right out straight to them. He said, if you've made Abimelech king, and you've dealt well with Jeroboam in his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands, if that's what you've done, for my father Gideon fought for you, adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian, and you are risen up against my father's house this day. You've slain his sons, 80 persons upon one stone. You've made Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, king over the men of Shechem, because he's your brother. Now if you have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice you in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you, if that's what truly it is. But, verse 20, if not, let fire come down from Abimelech and devour the men of Shechem, the house of Millo, and let fire come down from the men of Shechem and from the house of Millo, and devour Abimelech. And Jotham ran away and fled and went to Beer, and dwelt there for fear of Abimelech his brother. So when Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel, then God sent an evil spirit between to separate Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the cruelty done to the 80 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid upon Abimelech their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in the killing of his brethren. Now, the men of Shechem that are now against Abimelech set lairs in wait for him in the top of the mountains, and they robbed all that came along the way by them, and it was told Abimelech. Now Gaal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went on to the fields and gathered their vineyards and trode the grapes and made merry and went in to the house of their God and did eat and drink, and they cursed Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, said, Who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is not he the son of Jerubbaal, the Zubal, and Zubal his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for why should we serve him? And would to God this people were under my hand, then I would remove Abimelech. And he said to Abimelech, Increase your army and come on out. So we have here 34. Abimelech rose up with all the people that were with him by night, and they laid in wait against Shechem in 4 different companies. Talks about the battle here that they went through. The next thing probably we want to close with is starting at verse 50, his death. Then went Abimelech to Thebez and encamped against Thebez and took it. There was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women and all they of the city, and shut it to them, and gat up at the top of the tower. So all of the city doesn't want to be killed. They're in this tower. Abimelech came unto the tower and fought against it, and went hard under the door of the tower to burn it with fire. Now isn't this unique? Verse 53, a certain woman up in the tower cast a piece of millstone out of the tower upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. Then he called hastily unto the young man his armor-bearer, and said unto him, Draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, so that the rumor doesn't go out that a woman slayed me. And his young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man to his place. Now thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father Gideon, in slaying his 70 brethren. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, that had pronounced that long curse there.